start. Oh, wow, that was fancy.
Oh,
I didn't know it did that. All right.
Okay, continue. Oh, I guess we have to consent to be recorded.
Okay, I'm seeing people joining. It's letting everybody in, so I'm just gonna sit here and stall for a minute until everybody gets in, so that I don't have to repeat myself and no one has to listen to my spiel twice, because nobody wants that. Oh,
I want
still
it.
climbing. Oh, thanks. Still climbing. Oh my gosh, welcome so much, everybody. We are so excited to have you guys here tonight. It looks like everybody's pretty much in. I'm Carrie. I'm from the Anderson's events team. I think I've probably seen a bunch of you guys on these by now. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment to welcome you to our event with Shelby Mahurin in convo with Alexandra Bracken. Thank you all for being here tonight. Like I said, the Anderson's family has been selling books independently since 1875. So we've made it through some tough times and we're making it through this time as well. But we just wanted to let you know that your support of this event tonight by not only attending, but by purchasing the book through us, it really means the world to us. It's keeping us in business and we are just eternally grateful to you for it. A couple of things about tonight before we get started. If you would like to ask questions, we will have a Q&A session at the end. So you can go ahead and submit your questions through the Q&A function here on Zoom. And then Alexandra will be looking through them at the end, and we'll get through as many as we can before we run out of time. If you ordered a book for tonight, please know that you will receive an email when your book has either been shipped to you if you picked that option, or if it's ready to be picked up at our Naperville store. And I'm just going to ask you guys to be patient because that can sometimes take us a day or two. Because we have actual human beings who process those orders. We don't have conveyor belts and machines. So sometimes, you know, especially for an event like this that gets a bigger response and more audience, it just might take us a day or two. Let's see. Oh, and if you have not ordered your book for tonight, or you'd like another signed copy, because remember, signed copies make amazing gifts. And really the holidays are just around the corner, and we're being told to expect kind of the same delay and supply chain issues with books as we experienced last year, and the same shipping issues. So I'm just going to tell everybody, I'm starting now. I know it's July, start shopping early. Anyways, I'll put that into the chat with a link for you guys, was my whole point of that. Okay, so that's all the boring stuff. We're going to get to the good stuff now. We are here tonight. Welcome Shelby Mahurin, who grew up on a small farm in rural Indiana, where sticks became wands and cows became dragons. Her rampant imagination didn't fade with age, so she continues to play make-believe every day, which is amazing, with words now instead of cows. She still lives near that childhood farm with her very tall husband and semi-feral children. Oh, I also have semi-feral children. She is in conversation tonight with Alexandra Bracken, who is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of the Darkest Minds series and Passenger series. Born and raised in Arizona, she moved east to study history and English at the College of William and Mary in Virginia. And after working in publishing for several years, she now writes full-time, which is awesome. Her work is now available across the world in over 15 languages and has been adapted for the big screen as well, which is so exciting. Welcome to you both. I can't wait for this conversation. I'm going to pop off, but you guys just let me know if you need anything.
Will do. Hey. So, Shelby, happy release day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I already kind of asked you this before we came on, when we were in our virtual green room, so to speak, but how are you feeling now that the series is done? Are you feeling relieved? Are you excited? Are you just like, you haven't processed it yet?
All of those things. I'm feeling all of those things. I am very excited. I feel like I'm the most excited for people to read this book, but it is bittersweet. It's kind of the end of an era, like, you know, and I have to move on to something else after this. But for now, I'm cool. Like today was a celebration of the Serpent and Dove series. I went out with some friends to bookstores, kind of local bookstores, to sign stock. We went to brunch. It was a really happy day. So
that's the best. I feel like sometimes, you know, especially when you're a couple books in, you don't necessarily stop to appreciate how amazing it is to have like a book come out into the world, but you worked so hard on this whole series, and you had, as we were saying earlier, you had 2 books come out during the pandemic, which is a lot for like anybody to deal with. So I really salute you here.
Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of like all I know now. Serpent and Dove came out kind of like before the pandemic hit, like in full force.
Yeah.
It was September 2019, and the world kind of closed down, I think in, was it March of 2020,
Mhm.
around there?
Gosh, that's right. I feel like for some reason I had it in my head that Serpent and Dove came out so long ago, but it really wasn't. It just has been,
It
so
feels like it's been
pervasive.
84 years because we've been in a pandemic.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say that like it's had such an amazing response from readers. There's been so much fan art. It just feels like it's been part of the YA community online and like Bookstagram and TikTok for years and years. So
Oh man, TikTok. Thank goodness for TikTok.
I know, bless
feel
you,
like,
book talkers.
yeah, a lot of like books are getting new life because of TikTok. Like the TikTok like book talk recommends. They have like tables at Barnes and Noble and everything now. So it's pretty
I
cool.
like to think that the algorithm is like the book talk theory, where it just sort of like will randomly select a certain video. And
I agree.
you are chosen. You are chosen now. So seriously, guys, make book talks about your favorite books because you never know. You could totally go viral with them. So.
Good.
Yeah, even that's so different. When I was a debut author, it was really like Twitter, not even Instagram. It was like Twitter and Facebook, and that was sort of it in terms of social media. But
Like Tumblr. I know that was a big thing.
yeah, and you have such a strong aesthetic online. Like it seems like you instinctively knew that was sort of the way to go with all of this. Like, but it's also just who you are. And I think that's why readers respond to it so beautifully, because it's like, it's just you. Anyway, okay.
Thank you.
Gushing at you all night, but I do have some questions for you. And I did solicit some questions as you saw on Instagram. But you guys, if you have any questions that you want to ask me or you want to ask Shelby, for both of us, you can go ahead and put it in the Q&A. Jordan has already asked us a question that I will definitely get to.
Of course.
Jordan, actually, this is her fourth question, technically, she has submitted.
She's the best.
So, okay. So one of my favorite aspects of the series, aside from the swan-worthy romance, is how cool the magic system is. And that sort of ties into a bigger question that a lot of people were asking about on Instagram and what I was wondering about, which was like, where did the idea for the series come from? I'm sure you've answered this a million times now, but like, was there like a lightning flash idea? Was it a shower idea? Was it just...
I get a lot of ideas in the shower, and also when I'm driving, like for like long periods of time, it's almost like when my brain shuts off.
But it's also, isn't it also weird how you're like, wow, I just spent that whole drive brainstorming and somehow I successfully reached my destination.
I know, and I don't remember any of it. That happens all the time.
Don't brainstorm and drive, kids.
Yeah, major safety hazard. So the first spark of inspiration I had for the series came from watching Outlander. Is in season 2, Jamie and Claire are in France, and he refers to her as a dame blanche, and kind of in passing, and it's like kind of a sub thread for a couple of episodes about how she's like a white witch. And I was super intrigued by this. I was like, wait, I've never heard of this. What is this? And so I researched it, and I was just fascinated by the folk like lore around these like women. A lot of the tales were kind of depicted them as spirits, like who would lure men like under bridges to drown them. And then like in Outlander, it was a witch. And I obviously went the witch route, but I realized there weren't any like fictionalized stories about them, like books, like YA fiction. And I was like, I could do that. And so I did. So the whole idea came from just that one subplot in Outlander about Claire being a dame blanche.
Oh, I love Outlander so much. I mean, not a perfect series, definitely some problematic content.
Oh, I completely agree.
I read those books years ago when I like hardcore marathoned them, and I was
they're pretty thick to marathon.
Yeah, and I was like, this is what being a Twihard feels like, because I never had that with Twilight, but I had it with Outlander, where I was just like obsessed and thinking about like the characters constantly. And I would read, Diana would post these little snippets online on Twitter and on this kind of random internet forum that no longer exists. And then I because I worked in publishing for so long, I was really not like dazzled by most authors, if that makes sense, because you're dealing with them so often. But then
Yeah,
I
you're
like,
behind the
made it
curtain.
a point to go into Brooklyn by myself, went to, I think, the Brooklyn Book Fair, and like went to a signing and like brought her my book to sign. Was so nervous I couldn't speak. Yeah. So
I love that so much. Like you were starstruck.
I did wonder if there was a connection to that at all, because I love that whole vibe in that season and in that book. So
Yes. I mean, and Reed obviously having like that color hair.
yeah.
Pretty obvious parallel.
So, okay, we know what the inspiration for the story was now, but when you were like originally thinking about this story, did anything turn out differently than the way you originally imagined it was going to be? Or did like an aspect or character in the book catch you by surprise?
Yeah, so Reed wasn't actually a point of view character originally. It was all told from Lou's perspective, not even really a point of view because it was third person. But so during Pitch Wars, I added his point of view. I was in Pitch Wars back in 2017, and it really required me to sort of flesh him out. The bones were there, but like I had to dig a little deeper than I had, which ultimately strengthened the story. But I did not know when I sat down to write Serpent and Dove that I'm assuming everyone here has read Serpent and Dove.
Yeah.
So like I don't want to spoil anybody, but I'm gonna spoil you if you haven't read Serpent and Dove. I didn't know that Reed was a witch.
Ooh,
Until I like
twist too.
yeah, until the end of the book when I wrote like from that darkness, like a rose of golden pattern or whatever the line is. And then I was like, oh no, like what have I done? I can't unsee this now. Like this is canon. I have to go back in and like weave it throughout the rest of the book. So that kind of took me by surprise.
I love that. Sometimes it just like pops into your brain and then you're like, I'm a monster.
It's like it's here now.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. So do you have like a general process, or have you found it to be, when it comes to drafting, I should say, or developing a story idea? This was another question that I got a lot on Instagram. User LitScript had a different way of putting it, which was, how do I become as wonderfully cruel as her in my writing? So I'm assuming that means
Are you talking about Blood and Honey?
Little twist that you plot in. Like, did you have, I guess an easier way of asking this is like, did you have the whole series plotted from the beginning, or did you kind of feel your way through?
I felt my way through for sure. I mean, obviously I didn't know the plot twist in Serpent and Dove until I got there. I completely pantsed that whole book. With Blood and Honey, I plotted it a lot more.
Yeah.
And with Gods and Monsters, I think I've finally kind of fallen into what my like long-term process will be. I'm kind of in between a pantser and a plotter. So with Gods and Monsters, I plot out like the major beats of the story.
Yeah.
I use Save the Cat, writes a novel for like the beats, the big beats. But beyond that, I just kind of let myself play like within the scene, because I feel like a lot of my best ideas come spontaneously, like
Yeah.
as I'm constructing a scene. So that's my process now moving forward.
A couple author friends and I have been talking about this recently, because I used to be a lot more of a pantser. Like, I think I pantsed pretty much all of the Darkest Mind series. And then I was like, no, I need to have a stronger foundation in craft because I didn't study it in school, or I didn't have any formal training. And so then I think I like went overboard in needing to plot. And there is some, would you agree that there's like kind of some magic of discovering the story? Like, you kind of have to figure out your own unique balance for like having the different stops, so the story has structure, having the different big beats. Stops, I don't know why I said that.
That's okay, I got it.
But then also kind of like letting yourself have some fun with it. So that's something I still kind of struggle with. But
yeah, no, for sure. I feel like when you get it, when, at least for me personally, when I plot too heavily, it can feel really restricting, almost like I have like shackles on my wrist. Like, no, I have to stay to the outline. Like this is like this is this. And like you said, so much of, I mean, not to sound like woo woo, but like so much of the magic of storytelling happens as like you discover a scene, for me anyway.
Yeah. Our brains are amazing. They really like are figuring things out in the background. They're sort of like, okay, you enjoy writing this scene. I'm gonna like untangle this for you, but I won't reveal the answer.
Until you're in the shower or driving or don't have a pencil and paper.
Exactly. My favorite thing to do is, because I always get ideas right as I'm falling asleep at night. So I'll say like, hey Siri, make a note. Oh no, my phone's gonna go off. Hey Siri, make a note. And I'll try to like dictate the idea. And then I wake up in the morning and it's complete gibberish, basically.
nonsense.
It doesn't make any sense.
I've done that before too. I'll like jerk myself awake and be like, I have to write this down. And I'll open my notes app. And then, like you said, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, what?
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, as we said, we'll spoil Serpent and Dove. But in case people are not completely caught up or they were waiting to read book 2 until book 3, maybe, I don't know if you can answer this without spoilers, but so I'm just going to ask.
Okay.
Was there a scene that you really looked forward to writing in each book? Was there like a moment that you loved the most? Do you have a favorite moment? That's another way of asking that question.
Yeah, so I did write towards certain moments in each book. With Serpent and Dove, I knew that confrontation between Lou and Reed was going to have to happen, because the whole book, Lou is pretending she's not a witch. She's hiding the fact that she's a witch. He hates witches. He hunts them. He doesn't know. Okay, I was like, what was that?
I warned Shelby in advance that the only thing Tenny hates more than his puppy rival is the mailman. So I might have to mute myself on and off. I'm so sorry for interrupting though.
You're completely fine. I was launching a book with Jessica Olsen and I had a bat fly into my office somehow. And it like attacked me essentially. It was like, yeah, it was the most true mortification. So Tenny barking in the background isn't anything. Like I had to get up and leave the room in the middle of her launch event.
That is so goth. But secondly, how? Like that's wow.
We think that it came in through the fireplace.
That makes sense.
But we thought it was a bird, and it was it was like spastic, and it just kept coming like closer and closer to me until it eventually like hit my head. And that's when I was like, I'm done. Like I have to leave this room. Like, I'm so sorry, Jessica, but it was
my gosh. I don't know why I'm so scared of bats. I think I just haven't interacted with them.
I didn't know it was a bat. I thought it was a bird, or I would have probably.
I think my first instinct would have been bird too. Susan Dennard sent me a photo. She found like a bat laying in the middle of the road recently. Somehow Susan always rescues animals in distress. But she found this bat in the middle of the road and she just sort of like gently put it on the side and she sent me a photo and the bat was just like in the grass. And I was like, that is a perfect depiction of like every writer after 2020. Just the like, somebody come to me,
like,
please. Okay, sorry for the bat.
I don't remember what was writing towards a scene. So Serpent and Dove, I definitely was writing towards that confrontation when Reed finally realizes, like when it's too obvious to ignore at this point. Like she is a witch. So that big confrontation was kind of like, I got to get there. I'm really excited for that. Blood and Honey. I have favorite moments in Blood and Honey, but I don't know if I wrote towards a specific scene in Blood and Honey. I really liked some of the tropey stuff in Blood and Honey, obviously.
Love it.
Lou and Reed, this isn't super spoily. It's like a fun thing, kind of. It was, they had like a pretend sword fight that kind of turned like overly competitive, and it turned into like an actual like, I'm going to beat you fight. Not like beat you physically, but like beat you in this sword fight. So that one was a lot of fun. And then in Gods and Monsters, there's definitely a scene that I was writing towards, and it's a scene that I had in my head from the very beginning.
Oh, those are the best. And then like you get such a good feeling to finally hit them. Were you just like,
I was honestly at that point, it happens in the last act, and it's kind of like the fulfillment of the promise of the premise.
Yay!
And so I got there and I was like, oh my God, it's so high pressure. Like I was like, do not screw this up. This is literally the moment. And actually, interestingly enough, I'm allowed to say this, I'm the author. I felt like it was, in the original draft at least, it was one of the weakest scenes of the book. I like had to really like work on that scene during revisions. And I don't know if like the pressure just got to me or what, but we got it there. That's all that matters.
Okay. Well, sometimes it's like it takes a while. Like you have all the pieces, but like you kind of need to figure out the right way to layer them and stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like an onion. You have to like, okay, I did this. Now I have to like work on this part.
I love that you mentioned the tension of like Reed finding out about Lou and Serpent and Dove, because I think a lot of aspiring authors or writers get like very kind of bogged down in the idea of like how to create tension, and tension isn't like what's going to happen, it's how it's going to happen. So the whole time I was reading this book, I was just like a nervous wreck about how he was going to like find out about it. So it was so
like,
well done.
Because the reader knows, we have Lou's point of view, the reader knows that Lou is a witch. So it's like, it was a different kind of tension. It wasn't like what's going to happen. It was, when is it going to happen? How is it going to happen?
So do you have any advice on writing a different kind of tension, romantic tension? Do you like, how do you think about romance? How do you approach it? And yes, Jordan, I will ask her, tell us about the smut, please and thanks.
This is so interesting that you, like, this question is so interesting because romance is hands down my favorite part of every book. A book really has to have a foundation of romance for me to be like, yes, I want to live, like, it makes me want to live forever as I'm reading it. I haven't actually studied it. I think I've just read so much romance. And it's like I bleed it out now. But tension in a romance, there has to be something keeping the characters like apart. And in Serpent and Dove, it was the secret, like the big secret was what was keeping them apart. And in Blood and Honey, the tension in the relationship was a little different because it's like they had decided that they loved each other. It was just like, how do we make this work? Because we have such different foundations in our beliefs and worldviews, and like the very like real way that like conflicts sometimes, especially in like an enemies to lovers, opposites attract romance. Sorry, my cat. You've got Tenny, I've got Goose, who's trying to eat my flowers.
No, Goose, come back.
He's like really into these flowers.
No, I think that's so right. And like the wonderful thing about the romance in Serpent and Dove too is that it's not like an artificial thing that's keeping them apart. It's like a genuine thing that's keeping them from getting emotionally close, because
it's like a core belief that is opposed.
Oh, so well done. Chef's kiss. So well. Do you have a favorite like fictional romance that you love, whether it's like TV or books?
Oh my gosh, so many. I mean TV. Okay, first of all, I am the most basic bee that there is. Like, if it's mainstream, I probably like it. I'm super into Damon and Elena. I'm super into like Feyre and Reese. I'm super into, I just read the Song of Achilles. I was super into
you like a slight edge of tragedy and darkness.
I know, oh my gosh.
Sensing a theme.
That book. You know what's gonna happen. Everybody knows what happens with Achilles, and it's just like, it was like you were driving like it was like a train wreck. It was off the tracks, off the rails. You knew it was coming, and yet it still really got you right in the chest.
Yeah, it really comes for your neck, and like honestly, it's the kind of book where you just like softly weep loudly.
Oh my god, it was one of those books where it's like you close it and you just stare at the ceiling and you're like,
and you curse the gods and fates. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, so shifting gears a little bit.
Okay,
this is a very random question, but I love asking this. Do any of the characters have theme songs in your mind? Like, do you use music a lot to write or get you kind of in the headspace of the story, or do you write in complete silence?
I write in complete silence.
Wow.
I have to write in silence. I get really distracted by lyrics because I like really listen to like lyrics when they're on. They're like earworms. Sorry, here she comes. Hey Goose, what you doing?
She's like, I will not be ignored.
She's purring. She's like, pay attention to me.
She's so pretty. What a cute girl.
Oh,
she gave us a little wave. She's done with us. She just wanted to see what mom was doing.
She's like, I just want your undivided attention. You're not gonna give it to me, so peace out. I don't remember what I was saying. The cat.
Oh, you don't write to music. You like silence. You just like the soundtrack of Goose darting around behind you.
Really back to these flowers.
Scampering down the halls.
You're gonna hurt yourself. Yeah, I have to write to silence. But I do have playlists still that like I'll listen to in the car or in the shower or whatever. And a lot of times the back of my brain will be working like a lyric. I'll hear a lyric and I'll go, like, oh, that's, I could incorporate this somehow. Like this is a good idea for like a subplot or like a thread or whatever. So really, Lou has, I really like the song Liability by Lord for Lou.
So good.
Yeah, which is, it's slower and it's not, it's like peppy. I guess another like a more upbeat song for Lou would be Heathens.
Another good one.
Who sings it? I cannot remember. I've completely
Is it, I want to say it's like 21 Pilots. Is that right? Do you guys know?
yeah, I think so. I think so.
Is it
I
them?
mean, I could look.
21 Pilots. Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Anna. Anna Bach.
Yeah.
How do you say it? Anna Bach? Anna Bach? I'm going to butcher everybody's names tonight. Enjoy.
So yeah, those two songs really for Lou. Take Me to Church for Reed by, yeah, everybody knows that song. It's very basic, but it's very, very apt. I got a little meta with Gods and Monsters, and I titled one of the chapters from his point of view, Take Me to Church. And it's kind of a sexy scene. It's not kind of it is a sexy scene, and I titled it Take Me to Church. I was like, this is my last book in this series. I'm going for it. This is what it's called. So
You're like, just cracking your knuckles, like, I'm ready. Actually, that's another good question. Like, are there any other little Easter eggs that you can share with us, or like any hints on where to look?
I feel like there are a lot of Easter eggs about like shows that I like The Office. I have Easter eggs about The Office, like little lines, like one-liners, especially in Serpent and Dove. I have one in in Gods and Monsters, and I know that I wrote it. I think it was like, have you ever seen The Office?
Yeah.
Familiar? Like when when Michael is dating Pam's mom and Jim knows about it and she's like, you knew? And he goes, barely. Like, I'm pretty sure that is in my book at some point. And Serpent and Dove, I just, when Lou goes to Bass for help with the heist, he's like, so you've come to the master for guidance. And like, that's totally The Office too. Like I have little stuff like that. I have a lot of Disney Easter eggs too. Like some Little Mermaid ones and Beauty and the Beast and just fun things.
I'm enjoying everybody referencing Taylor Swift's Willow.
Oh, for sure.
Like
That's definitely like a relationship song for them.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when she came out with that music video, I was like, that's Taylor.
Are you in my brain, Taylor Swift?
I was like,
I love that Brianna says she's going to keep an extra eye out for that chapter. Me too, girl.
I mean, you'll know it when you get there, for sure.
Gonna go make myself some more tea. Go like shut the bedroom door, like just have a moment to myself. That's
that
amazing.
chapter was a struggle to write, but worth it.
Okay, I have a couple more questions from Instagram.
Okay.
I hope I'm saying this right. Eliana Alexandra, excellent name. How much is God and Monsters gonna hurt me? On a scale of a single sad tear to I want to die.
I feel like it's closer to the I want to die than the single sad tear. I mean, if I have to put a rating on it, if Serpent and Dove was a single sad tear and Blood and Honey was I want to die, Gods and Monsters would be in between. It's bittersweet. Okay. Would be the word that I use to describe that book.
Now I'm scared.
I
know. This username, I'm probably gonna mess it up. XOXO, I'm an actress. 101 underscore XOXO. It was a long username. Wants to know which character was the hardest to say goodbye to? Oh. Not like, in terms of character death, but just in terms of you writing. Like who will you miss?
It's so hard to pick. But like if I had to pick, it would probably be Lou. I mean, like I said, in Serpent and Dove, Reed, I love Reed. I mean, I have to love Reed. I've written him for 3 books, but I've been with Lou the longest, like because that original draft in Serpent and Dove didn't have Reed's like point of view. So she's like sat on my shoulder for like, I started Serpent and Dove in January of 2017. So it's been 17, 18, 19, 20, like 20. It's been like 5 years with
Yeah.
her. So I'll miss her. She's and very loud. Like it's gonna be hard writing new books, not to like.
Was that Goose
Yeah,
or a
I
ghost?
don't even know what she did. What are you doing?
My brain immediately went goose, ghost, or bat.
Yeah, I was like, gosh, that was Goose. She's found something.
The best.
Yeah, she's definitely having a good time over there. Again, I'm so sorry. Lou would be the answer to that question. I'll miss her the most. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. In writing a new book, Lou is so loud, it's gonna be really hard to like get her out of my head to write the new voice.
Yeah, I have definitely been there. It just happened to me with Lore and Tamsin, the character in my new book, where I was like, thank goodness Lore is like third person and this one's first person. So there's some differentiating there, but like it's hard to kind of click out of one character's head and move into another one and kind of like meet them for the first time because you're so really uncomfortable with characters.
And it's really hard too to like draft a new book when you're promoting like the one that is coming out. I feel like I haven't made a ton of headway with my next book. I mean, I've written a decent chunk, but it was hard because I was constantly like, I feel like I was kind of holding myself back because I was like, no, Lou's time isn't over yet.
Yeah. It's still Lou's era.
Exactly.
Use the Taylor Swift term there. It's still the era of Serpent and Dove.
Exactly.
We'll get to the new project in just a bit because I'm and she's here, Kira Larkey, is that how you say your last name? I apologize. She asked, did your characters teach you anything about yourself or life in general? That's like an excellent philosophical question.
Definitely. Serpent and Dove ended up being cathartic in a way that like I didn't know it was going to be. I didn't go into that book like I have this issue that I need to work out. And yet I still did. A lot of Lou's sort of her thoughts and her like relationship with religion, like organized religion, like with in the book it's Catholicism, but with my own life it's like Christianity. It like, and the way that the church sort of views women, treats women, all of these things, it just kind of like spilled out of me. So yeah, I definitely worked through some things in writing Lou.
Reason why, you felt such a connection with Lou, and that's like the hardest character to let go of is the one that sort of you've connected with on like that heart level. It's wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. So to answer the question, yeah, I mean, I did with each book I learned, and Blood and Honey was more, so we're going to get like really deep and personal here. Hope you guys are along for the ride. So my husband and I, my spouse and I, we are complete opposites, like polar opposites, just like Lou and Reed. And with Blood and Honey, I really wanted to take a look at what that looks like in a fantasy world, enemies to lovers situation, which I realize is a choice that a lot of people weren't expecting and maybe didn't want. But I wanted a really realistic portrayal of what people who are very different, like what that looks like, them finding middle ground. It's like they've made the choice to love each other, but like how does like the rubber actually meet the road here? Because it is hard when somebody is on the opposite end of the spectrum as you.
Yeah.
To sort of find that common ground. So with Blood and Honey, there was a lot of that, me navigating like that personal terrain.
Yeah. I think, that's honestly one of my favorite things about their relationship is that they have that very realistic aspect, because like relationships are, when it comes down to it, they are work. Like they do require effort, and you kind of like make that decision every single day to be in that relationship. So I thought that was really wonderful. And like, the funny thing about YA is like in YA, people meet their soulmates at 17, and I know you met your husband when you were really young too, but like in life it's actually pretty rare still to like meet your forever partner when you're so young. So I love that though, and it's I really think like the key to writing a good emotional story is having that emotional entry point, like not necessarily retelling your story, but kind of working out your feelings about your own story on the page.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, if you do find your life partner when you're really young, you are not the same person when you're really young as you are as an adult. You like grow and you evolve and you change. And so it's like, okay, well, what does the relationship look like now? You know, as two people sort of change and try to figure out, you kind of have to like relearn your partner as you change like every day, you know? So that was another thing. There's a lot of growth happening with Lou and Reed and Blood and Honey on both ends. They both have a lot of like stuff to work through. So it was fun and it was cathartic to sort of figure that out.
I love it. Okay, here's one of Jordan's other questions that I really liked. Would you rather be a god or a monster?
Oh man. I feel like one of the sort of themes that I play with in Gods and Monsters is like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Um, because like, I mean, you obviously are very familiar with Greek mythology. The gods were monsters.
Yeah.
they were horrible.
Children, like terrible creatures.
So, I mean, I guess if I had to pick, knowing that, I would pick to be a god, because like a monster isn't necessarily a god, but I feel like a god is still a monster. So
Yeah.
I get to be both.
And that's a good point, because my thought process when I saw this question originally was like, gods have a responsibility, whereas monsters are just sort of like zero X given. They just get to do whatever they want. And I was like, maybe that's not so bad as long as nobody comes to murder you.
I mean, that's true.
As long as you don't have a hero coming after you to like prove their.
As long as you're not Medusa, then like you're fine.
Okay, so what are you watching right now? What are you reading right now?
Okay, what am I watching right now? I have not had time to watch anything.
I mean, you've been incredibly busy. Like I'm sure the pandemic really, between having the kids at home and trying to work on these books, like it's a lot.
Yeah. My friend Dia worked on He-Man, the He-Man reboot. What is it called? I'm so sorry. On Netflix.
Masters of the Universe. Thank you, Jordan.
I was watching that. I'm trying to squeeze it in, and I'm also reading for Jordan right now, my critique partner. So that's what I'm reading, and that's what I'm watching. Very specific. The last full book that I read was, I think, The Song of Achilles, which is excellent.
Oh, so good. It's hard. That's like a book that gives you a real book hangover too.
Oh, for real.
I can't read anything else for a while. I just need to sit with my feelings.
I don't think that I can read that book for a while. Like it was just so.
I know. I love Madeline Miller because her prose is so beautiful, but it's also like deceptively simple, but she's able to create so much emotion with it. It's like being in an Enya music video constantly. I don't know how else to describe it. Like you just are so soothed, but also so
ripped open. I think I am gonna do a reread of Circe and the Song of Achilles, just to not as a reader, as a student.
Yeah, I kind of want to do that too. Honestly, I'm like, Madeline, teach a workshop.
Just teach me your ways.
Okay, so speaking of Greek mythology, a little birdie, aka Instagram, told me that your next project deals a little bit with Greek mythology. Do you want to tell us a little something about it, or you want to kind of keep it quiet now, for now?
I don't think I'm allowed to talk about it, except that it is.
Aren't you?
What?
So you're going to do a big announcement and make us wait.
I think that's the plan, but I mean, it is Greek mythology. It is YA fantasy still.
Yes. Make it back. There we go.
This cat. It is a retelling kind of. It's a retelling of a lesser known myth that's kind of tangent to a very well-known Greek myth.
Okay.
It's kind of it centers one of those characters in the background of a very popular Greek myth. So, and I'm very excited about it. Very excited about it.
Send it to me to read when you're ready. I want to read it. I'm so excited. Okay, so now we have about 15 minutes left. I'm going to dive into your Q&As or your questions and Shelby's A's. If you guys want to add anything else, go ahead, keep asking questions. I'll just kind of scroll through and pick some. Okay. I love this question from Becca. This is something I've kind of wondered about too, because my writing is not spicy. Becca Arrow asked, how do you handle the embarrassment that comes with your friends and family, or how do you handle the embarrassment that comes when your friends and family read something that you wrote, especially if it's a bit spicy?
It's the worst, Becca. It's the worst. It doesn't get better. My friends really like to give me a hard time, and they like will try to read out my like spicy scenes out loud, and I have to like kick them out of my house so that they can't do that. And with oh my god, my dad read Serpent and Dove and Blood and Honey. He hasn't read Gods and Monsters yet, but he insisted. It was one of those things where I was like, Dad, don't read it. You know, you're not really the demographic that I wrote this for. Like, just don't read it. It's fine. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. Please don't read it. And he was kind of okay with that until we got closer to publication. And then he stole my mom's Kindle and read it. and he like I just love him so much. He's super supportive. He like wanted to talk about it. Like, no, I know you were embarrassed, but like, it was really well done. And I was like, oh, like, can like the earth open up and swallow me, please?
Oh
No. I was like, Dad, no. Talk about anything else besides this, please.
I love a supportive dad. When my debut novel came out, my dad went to our local Barnes and Noble that was like right by our house, and he literally, it was published by Egmont USA, which was a very small publisher. And he literally harassed them every single weekend until they stocked it in store. And then he had my mom gosh, I can't talk, email me a photo. This is showing my age because I'm like trying to remember if at that point we even had like text message photos. I was like, was it that long ago? 2010? But he was so proud. He had my mom email me this photo of him at Barnes and Noble, and he was holding the book and the receipt in it, and it almost looked like a proof of life, like hostage photo, just the way he was like posing, and he was sort of doing that dad, like I'm not really smiling face, like he looks sort of grim as he's holding this book and receipt. And it had no text in the email, no subject line or anything. And so I called him and he was like, oh, I just wanted to prove that I bought it. I was like, oh, thanks, Dad. His feedback was that the book could have used a volcano, so gotta love him. I miss my dad's feedback like that. Dads are the best.
Yes. Dad, I told him that he would have to get a different copy of Gods and Monsters. And
yeah.
I was like, because there's more
like marked out in permanent marker.
He read Blood and Honey and like didn't discuss any of that with me, thank God. He like took a hint from the first book. But with Gods and Monsters, I told my mom, I said legitimately he can't read this book because it's spicier than both of the others. Like it's just a no. And so Dad, he's on me to like get him a copy. He's like, just mark out the 2 chapters or however many it is that you don't want me to read. I'm like, okay.
He was like, right in permanent marker, you shall not pass at the top of the 2 chapters. All right, Lorelai wants to know if Lou and Reed were a Disney story, which movie/story couple would they be?
Oh my goodness, that's
an interesting one.
Like, which movie do like they relate to the most?
You know who?
Tiny saved me.
I know Tiny was like, "I'll buy you some time." I was actually thinking this isn't Disney, but they sort of like, I don't know. There's like a little bit of like Anastasia
and Dimitri,
vibes, like Anastasia Dimitri vibes, like a little.
Yeah, a little bit, especially like the thief and everything.
Yeah.
Who would it be? Do we have like a soldier type? There's like Mulan.
I'm really trying to think of like somebody that would.
Megan Hercules, that's a good one. Megan Hercules is a good one.
That is a good one.
Nice. Brianna. That's my answer.
Yeah.
Megan Hercules.
That's a good one. Oh, Esmeralda, I've only watched the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I always want to say Notre Dame once, and it was enough to scar me. So I have not rewatched that movie.
That movie's dark.
That movie is so dark. Like there are parts of it that are so beautifully done, and I'm just like a one and done kind of film for me. Okay. Which character do you relate to the most in this series and why? That's from Sammy. Would you say it's Lou? Or is it?
Probably, it's probably Lou. But I mean, I've sprinkled little bits of myself into each of the characters. Would you say that that's pretty normal?
Yeah, I think so. I was like filming a little thing for my UK publisher, and it's like, which character in lore do you relate to the most? And I was like, is it weird to say like none of them, but all of them a little bit? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
kinda,
It's like
like,
took pieces out of each of them and stitched them together.
yeah.
That would
I'm
be
like, lore has my love of New York City, but I also can't murder a man, so with a knife. So
yeah.
like, not sure I want to relate to anyone except for maybe Miles in that book. Okay, Christina wants to know, what are our favorite romance tropes? Do you have a favorite? I
Oh,
feel like I
I
gotta
have
think
so
about this for a minute.
I mean, enemies to lovers is the obvious choice. That's
Always,
like
always
God tier level, right?
good. Yeah. I always like in my books, and I don't realize I'm doing it until I reread the first drafts. I always include like a hurt comfort scene where like one of the love interests is hurt and the other one has to take care of them.
Sure. I think that I have one of those in every one of my books too.
Yeah, I was like, you know what?
I mean, it's just
Somebody's
it's
getting stabbed.
set up for like vulnerability. Like I'm hurt, so
Yeah.
I can be vulnerable.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna die, so let me confess all my feelings too.
Exactly. I
Class-
also really like the trope where like they have a nickname or something and they won't use the real name until it's like that dire like I love you situation.
Yeah. Oh, I also, oh my God, we could talk about this for a full hour. I also love the trope where it's like one is sort of, what is it called? It's like one love interest, it's usually the girl is like very energetic and excitable and emotional, and the guy is sort of like,
Is it the Sunshine Grump?
yeah,
Mhm.
Sunshine Grump. Thank you. I was
that.
like, what's the name of that one? Loved
Yeah. I mean, any opposite attract situation, I'm there for. I there are there any romance tropes that I don't like? Would be
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I even don't mind insta love as long as it comes with conflict down the line. But I think insta love is really more like insta attraction, and then they have to like actually get to know the other person, and you might
Mhm.
not essentially
like
like.
what you see. Yeah, I really dislike. I've recently discovered bully romance is the thing.
Yes, I was just reading about that. I was like, I mean, I'm not going to shame anybody for like,
No, it's just not my thing. It's not my
yeah.
thing.
I was like, oh, this sounds so mean.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I agree.
I
I'm
mean,
not a huge fan of that one.
if you guys have a bully romance that you like would recommend that you think is really well done, let us know. We again are not shaming anyone for their taste.
Not at all.
I think for me, I just am like, I don't know, I was bullied when I was a kid, so I like can't do a bully romance because it just flashbacks.
Yeah.
PTSD, not to make light of PTSD, but that was a rough time in Alex Bracken's life. So okay. Let's see. Jenna Carr asks, when it comes to how the characters look, did you have actors that inspired them, like with Reed, or was it all in your head?
Reed is really the only one who I was like, yes, Jamie from Outlander. The other ones, it was just I don't know, a split second decision, I guess, as I was writing. What about you? Do you like think about what your characters look like beforehand, or is it just like a intuitive thing?
I think about it a little bit, like with my character Tamsin in my new book that's coming out in like 2023. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when it comes out. In Silver in the Bone, I was like, she in my mind she looks like Florence Pugh. Like sometimes I have like a really strong mental image of them, and other times it's like a little bit hazier, and it's more that I just like hear their voice, like the way that they speak and their cadence and all of that very strongly. And so when they made the Darkest Minds movie, it was very, very strange to like have characters cast in the role. And then I wrote The Darkest Legacy after they had been cast, so I still had my like original mental image for all of them. And it just worked out that Mia, who played Zoo in the movie, looked so much like how I had imagined her in the book that it was kind of wonderful. But like everyone else, I was like, oh, you guys look different. It's kind of like, it's so interesting to have that.
I feel like even with like an audiobook, when
Yeah.
they're voice actors, it's so interesting to hear other people's interpretation of the character, or like who see different interpretations of the character.
Exactly. All right. Lorelai has another question. If Lou lived in modern day, what would she be like? That's like a big question. Let's have like
Question.
what
I
do
feel
you
like
think
she would
Yeah, like would she be a witch? Like, is that sort of the question? If she was like a modern day witch, or if she was just like your average cool girl making her
I
way.
I feel like she would be, I think I did. I did an Instagram ask me anything like last year, and somebody asked about what all of the characters would be like in high school, like regular high school, and I did this like whole AU thing.
Oh my
Um,
god.
where I got carried away with it for sure. Where like Lou is the girl in the back of the class, like flicking flick footballs at the back of Reed's head because he's in the front. He's like the straight A like star quarterback, and she's like just trying to drive him crazy. And then like Coco would be the effortlessly like cool girl who everybody's like, what are you listening to? Like Coco wore black, so I wore black. Like
I completely agree with that. She's like the popular girl who doesn't like necessarily realize she's the popular girl.
like try it all. She's just kind of like, yeah, this is just maybe I'm born with it. Like so I could see me. I feel like Lou would be sitting in the back of the class, like I said, like flicking paper footballs at Reed just to get a reaction. I feel like she would be TikTok famous probably for kind of
Probably, yeah.
like I mean, like earmuffs for probably she would be like shit posting, like and like reposting memes and that sort of thing
I could totally see that. That is like,
on a modern
I
team.
feel like she would fit in very well with Gen Z, just sort of like she would get their sense of humor.
I think so too.
Jenna asked, like related, if Lou and Reed were gonna pick college majors, what would they pick?
Oh my goodness.
I know. This is like,
It's a
you
great
guys are kind of
question.
writing alternate universe fan fiction, aren't you? Tell us the truth.
I'm like, oh no. I feel like Lou would pick something super like underwater basket weaving or something that she could just kind of like not go to class and like coast by. This is not like what you should do. I just feel like this is what Lou would do. And Reed,
I'm trying to think. She would have like some very obscure major she'd created for herself, and everyone was like, "Is that a major?"
like,
Like,
yeah, it is like, yeah, I could definitely see Lou doing something like that. Reed would do something very serious. I feel like he would be an engineer or like a financial advisor or something really kind of like math and science related. I feel like would, even though he does love a good romance
Yeah.
novel. So
I was gonna say, like, maybe he'd be like an accountant, and he would take his job so seriously.
yeah.
Wait, Carrie, can I ask her one more question?
Of course, yeah, go.
Okay. Is there a book that you would really recommend right now? Like, aside from Song of Achilles, like, is there a book coming out in the near future you want to give a little shout out to? Or
I actually just bought 3 books today.
yeah,
When I was out, I bought For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. I bought which is adult, but it's a Red Riding Hood retelling, reimagining. I bought Small Favors by Erin Craig, who it actually pubbed today with me. We have the same pub date, and we also have the same agent, so that's pretty cool. And then I bought, where is it? It's Ava Reed's book, The Wolf and the Woodsman.
Oh, I'm sensing a theme.
Yeah, I know. It's all very like fairy tale-ish. So I'm gonna be reading those in the future.
Well, when you guys get your signed copies of Gods and Monsters, you can also order those books from Anderson's as well.
Yes. Thank you, actually, for that little plug. Thanks. And I love, Shelby, that today you went out, of course, to sign books for your own book, and then you ended up shopping at Indies as you went along. That's just
so
amazing.
hard not to buy all the books.
I know.
Like, I didn't realize that was out yet. Like, I need to buy this. I need to buy this. My spouse was like, "Stop it!" Like, you have all these books you haven't read. They're sitting on the shelf.
It's a challenge every day where I work. Trust me. I get it. But it's awesome. It's so obvious that both of you really support independent bookstores. And I just want you to know that we feel it, and we're just so grateful for it, because we think that independent bookstores do a lot of really important work in our communities, and our communities are not the same without them. And believe it or not, the first 9 months of this pandemic, one independent bookstore closed every week in America. And that just breaks my heart into 1,000 pieces, because those communities now don't have their independent bookstore. So your support is really meaningful, and we just are really grateful for it. along with the support of everybody here, by being here, by purchasing books through us, by supporting Andersons, by even like sharing our posts and telling your friends, you know, oh, your favorite authors are coming. Like it really does all make a big difference in the end for us. And we see it and we feel it and we love it. Thank you so much. It's no big secret to those of you who recognize my face and who have come to YA events at Anderson's and to these virtual events over the last year. I think I froze. There you
There you
go.
are.
Oh, okay. All right. I was gonna say it's no big secret how much I love the YA audience and YA books in general, but also just the audience and interacting with you guys and the vibe that you guys bring to every event, whether it's been in person or virtual over the last year. So thank you again for being here tonight. And I can't wait to see you guys again in person someday. Thank you to both of you ladies so much.
Thank you everyone for coming out.
Congratulations, Shelby.
Thank you. I'm just overwhelmed. I'm about to dive into my
Finishing the
Instagram
series is
notifications.
huge, and finishing as strongly as Gods and Monsters is just incredible. Congratulations. We're also thrilled for you.
Yes, we are. And other than that, just be safe out there, guys. Good night, and hopefully we'll be together soon.
Hopefully.
Bye, everybody.
And everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.